nuts to this.
Holy shit. Wow, this movie, Golgo 13, The Professional, is an animated movie that features the Japanese version of the most manly man who ever existed. It is a movie filled with the most traditional and by-the-numbers plot you've ever witnessed, half-assed violence, and the most boring sex scenes ever put to animation. And this is from the same country that brought you Urotsukidoji. Weird, huh? But the protagonist is a professional assassin who's like totally badass. So like, that makes up for everything, right? Golgo 13, The Professional is a 1983 anime flick based on the super long-running and very popular manga known as Golgo 13, which apparently has been running since 1968. Jesus, that is impressive. This movie, on the other hand, is most assuredly unimpressive, and I'd argue quite weak in every possible way. Judging by the initial time period of its creation, the late 60s, it's my guess that Golgo 13 was Japan's reaction and version of Agent 007, James Bond himself. I apologize, I suck with accents. Only Golgo 13, aka Duke Togo, is even more badass than Bond because he never displays any emotion, and he's even more greater at killing people than that wussy dainty martini drinking Brit. Plot. The movie has one long plotline running throughout it, the assassination of an oil billionaire's son who was about to take over the apparently family-run company from his father, Leonard Dawson. Duke Togo, known professionally as Golgo 13 for some reason, and yes, I know it's a reference to Golgotha Hill where Christ was supposedly crucified, and the unlucky number 13, but the name itself is really dumb, and I just don't understand why the initial writer stuck with it. But I digress. So anyway, Duke was hired to kill said son, and does so in like the flick's first 3 minutes. The rest of the movie is all about a bunch of smaller jobs that Duke is hired for, as well as the repercussions that he has to deal with over the oil baron's son. I mean, just by that description, it sounds pretty interesting. Exotic global locations, murder sprees, sexy ladies, and danger around every corner. But in practice, Golgo 13, The Professional, ends up looking like an amateurish mess. Did you see what I did there? The plot of this thing is all over the goddamn place and fumbles with both the overall story of revenge for the killing of the poor son of the rich guy, as well as the individual murder-for-hire vignettes that make up the bulk of the rest of the flick. During an early assignment, after already blowing the Dawson son blowing the guy away, Duke gets hired by a Catholic bishop to assassinate the head of an Italian crime syndicate responsible for the murder of the bishop's family. Duke easily infiltrates the mafioso's mansion by beating the shit out of the crime boss's daughter's bodyguard. This impresses the daughter so much that she immediately starts doing squat thrusts in the cucumber patch with Duke. Literally, she's the only one who even moves the slightest while they're in bed together, but she reveals that she knows that he's Golgo 13,
the greatest assassin ever!
And she begs him not to kill her father, a man known only as Dr. Z. Or is that Dr. Zed? I don't know. Because if Duke tries, he will fail, and he will end up dead because her father will kill him, just like all the others who previously came for him. Duke don't give a shit though, and he in fact returns the very next day to get banged by the mob boss's daughter again, and then they go for a horsey ride. Nobody tries to kill Duke this whole time. The daughter even let Duke know that her father knows the stoic and badass Japanese guy who's like twice this girl's age is the legendary Golgo 13. But Duke is allowed to frolic with the daughter in the sheets and in the dark forest, no problemo. Oh wait, the bodyguards following the two of them just pulled up and leveled their Uzis at Duke, boxing him in and firing at him from all sides. Luckily, physics don't apply in this world, and Duke is able to avoid over 3,000 bullets coming at him from all angles, as do the mob enforcers who somehow miraculously survive this onslaught too. Duke then dispatches the bodyguards one at a time with a rinky-dink little revolver, because he is a manly man, he don't need no big guns for a job like this. It's exposed that the daughter is really Dr. Zed though. Shock! and when Duke stupidly lets her know that he knows, she races her horse to him on a deserted and extremely open beach in order to try and kill him herself, because that worked out so well for everyone else previously. Yeah. The logic in this movie is below that of the Care Bears movie. It's actually depressing how stupid every single character is in this story, but if they weren't, I guess there'd be no story. That right there is a major pet peeve of mine in fiction, using character stupidity to move the plot along. If the only way a writer can get the story to move from point A to point B is by having someone do something seriously stupid, they're a terrible writer. And it happens over and over again in this flick. There's one point right after Duke kills Dr. Z, with ease I might add, wherein the US military, with the CIA and the FBI working together openly on this job in Sicily, tries to kill him. But instead of opening fire on him when he's standing in front of his car and is a clear target, they deliberately wait till he notices them, gets back into his car, and can escape out the other door into the sea before the order to shoot him is even given. Why? Who the fuck is in charge of this operation? Homer Simpson? And then later on, this covert American amalgamated team tracks Duke down to San Francisco. They get pics of him and his weapons dealer, and they know what hotel and room number he's staying in while he preps to kill his next target, a literal Nazi, but they let him go both times so that they can try and stop him in the middle of the assassination act, even though they don't know which of 4 towers he's planning to use to shoot the Nazi bastard in his impregnable hidey hole. What the fuck? Nah man, Homer would have done a much better job at capping Duke than this. This is some Peter Griffin level stupidity here. But on the flip side, Duke is such a badass that he still goes forward with the assassination that night despite all the heat on his ass. And he just kills that Nazi through another building despite not being able to even see him when he shoots. He is just that good. Seriously, he's one bad mother. So the writers constantly use stupidity to move the plot forward, or they'll have something utterly impossible happen in order to get Duke out of some trouble he's found himself in. For example, at one point, the US military tracks Duke down and finds him in a church. They send in 3 super assassins of their own who actually wound the man pretty badly, and when Duke tries to escape out the front doors, there are something like a dozen jeeps and tanks that somehow snuck up on him, waiting for him, that end up leveling the entire church, giving the man no chance to escape. Only Duke somehow gets out and into the sea again, where he has a boat waiting, and he's not even wet as he peels away. How did any of this happen? They open fire the instant they see him with building leveling guns and explosives. Doesn't matter, they needed Duke to survive in order for this thing to last 90 minutes, so he did. Oh, and let's take a look at that highway chase where a couple dozen cars are hounding Duke, and he jumps across an open piece of overpass to get away. That gap that he jumps is about 20 feet from a level area of road to another level area of road, but he drops a full 15 to 20 feet down. There is no way to get those 2 parts to connect in the finished product. Who the fuck designed this overpass? I hope the Pentagon guy finds him and beats the shit out of him with a sock full of nickels and quarters. And one final impossible scene was in the finale. So Duke is getting his ass handed to him by one more counter-assassin, Snake, in an elevator when a helicopter on the billionaire's payroll comes around and fires its 2,000 rounds per minute Gatling gun at them both. Duke easily uses Snake's body as a shield, despite the fact that a gun like this would fire at least 7.62 by 51mm caliber bullets that could tear through concrete. But nope, Duke is perfectly safe with his meat shield because he still has a few more people to kill. Jesus, there are just too many instances of impossible shit happening just to get Duke out of a sticky situation. I both love and hate this movie for it. Oh wait, can I say anymore? Or is that? No, okay. I both love and hate this movie for it. Love it because it's just so bad in execution every time something silly like this occurs, but I hate it because each impossible occasion is so dumb that it aggravates me that someone got paid to write this script in the first place and nobody thought to go over it before spending a shit ton of money animating it. Then there's the part where something stupid and impossible happens at the same time. At one point, Duke annihilates the army guy's forces and chases after that fat man in charge in order to take him out once and for all. The bulbous fat fucker gets into a giant American car and tries to run over Duke. Dumb, but okay, probably his last resort, and he knows it. Duke then stands in the middle of the road for 2 minutes waiting for the army guy to get within 10 feet of him before firing his Saturday Night Special into the fat man's head and neck. The car swerves to avoid Duke, but the fat guy is still alive and has enough wits about him to whip out his own gun and shoot Duke in the heart. I don't know where to go with this scene. How did the army guy still get a shot off after getting shot in the head? And how did he pull off a Duke Togo style impossible shot like that under those conditions? And why didn't Duke dive for cover after plugging the guy? And why wasn't he wearing a bulletproof vest knowing full well that the entire US Army was after him at this time? How did Duke survive a shot to the heart that caused this much damage? And how is he pretty much okay in the very next scene with just a few bandages wrapped around his torso? Why? What? How? Well, the answer is, of course, bad writing. Or Duke is a Highlander. I have one question at this point in the movie. Well, I have hundreds actually, but this one is a big one. How do the antagonists always know when and where Duke will show up? They know he's going to arrive for the final fight the day he's flying in, and in coach class on a Delta flight, I might add, which I don't understand. When you're assassinating assholes for hundreds of thousands of Reagan-era dollars, and you're as busy as Duke is with his profession, why not splurge on a first-class ticket? But I digress. They just let him come to town and set up shop first without trying to get him at the airport? Well, without doing more than sending a 5-year-old girl and an octogenarian butler to get him at the airport, I mean. And if you needed one more reason to hate this oil billionaire who is sending all these mean, evil, psychotic dickholes after our poor protagonist Duke and all of Duke's friends and associates, just know that he was also the one who ordered the FBI to kill Kennedy in Dallas. Boom. And I need to point out that Duke is so cool that even when his longtime friends and associates are killed in order to get to him, Duke doesn't show any other emotion other than squinty eyes. And this scene is how the animators chose to show how Duke accepts his dear friend, the clockmaker's violent end. Duke just stares at the body, which for some reason starts spinning in the chair all on its own. And no, Duke is not putting his hand to his heart in a show of emotional pain. That's just where he was stabbed 2 minutes prior. He's just one bad mother. But I digress again. Okay, so Duke finally figures out who's ordering these hits on him and his peeps, and he finally takes the fight to the billionaire himself. But not to the billionaire's home or yacht. Nope, he goes straight to his New York City 60-story tall skyscraper. And after busting through the front doors and blowing up his bike, Duke then runs up 40 flights of stairs.
What a guy.
There he's attacked by suicidal helicopter pilots. Seriously, that helicopter crashed without Duke even firing a single shot at it, and the psychopathic killer known as Snake, and 2 more total badass killers that the army kept in a secret prison, whom the oil baron ordered them to unleash on Duke for revenge. Everyone then dies, except Duke.
Big American party! Yay! Everybody disco dancing! Lots of fun, good time for all! I'm having very good time!
Oh, but then Duke runs into the poor wife of the billionaire's son whom he killed, and she's turning tricks on a sleazy city street at night. So yeah, nobody comes out of this flick in one piece, except our man, Golgo 13.
What a guy.
The end. Other shit.
I have to point out that everyone in this movie is a total dick. Yeah, the billionaire and all his toadies and assassins, they're all total dicks, of course, but Duke is the biggest schlong of all. Granted, he's in the assassination business and his job is to kill people for money, but he kills his longtime friends and information gatherers quicker than anyone else he's gunning for. At one point, the billionaire grabbed Duke's intel guy's wife and kid and is holding them hostage, and the guy telegraphs to Duke that he's sorry, but he's got to do what they tell him to do. And then he slowly draws a gun in order to give Duke plenty of time to stop him from trying to shoot him. But instead of simply disarming his buddy and thanking him for giving him a heads up on what the billionaire is capable of doing, Duke just plugs his associate with no mercy and then leaves his body in a flooded junkyard in Jersey. Fuck you, Golgo 13. What makes Duke even more of a total dick is how he treats his women. No, he doesn't slap them or insult them or anything boorish like that. Duke is a total ladies' man.
Oh yeah!
But he makes his women do all the work while he lays there looking like a dead fish, wearing the expression of a man thinking really hard, wondering if he can write off his bullets and Bowie knife on his tax form. It's plain to see that the writers and directors wanted you to feel sympathy when Duke is shot or stabbed, but I actually cheered for his injuries, especially after scenes like this. Hell, I just wanted everyone to die in this movie. Really painful deaths. Oh man, and there is so much nudity in this movie, but it's not titillating or bonerific in the least. It all plays plays out like what a horny preteen who has no concept of sex or what real live naked women's bodies move like thinks naked women and sex would be like. And the violence is just laughably lame. It's a world where a single revolver shot will cause a rainfall of bright red blood that will last for minutes, and where a single bullet will launch people 40 feet backwards as if they were slugged full force by Iron Mike in the face. There are so many ludicrous scenes in this anime. It tries so persistently to be a grown-up, hard-boiled, dangerous, and sexy 80s action flick, but it's like it keeps stubbing its toe just as it starts to run. Take, for instance, the part where the CIA and the Army general argue over who has the most
Badass assassins.
and so they pit them against each other while they make the widow of the son of the oil tycoon watch, and the winner of the battle royale, after he straight up slaughters his opponents, sexually attacks the poor woman, but nobody does anything to stop him or his threats of later raping her because they're apparently all assholes, or the fact that Duke is one of the most wanted men in the entire world, but he just prances around populated places like San Francisco and New York City without even wearing any sort of disguise. And then there's a scene where this 29-year-old cutie American girl who is the best at auto modifications and weapon smuggling gets Duke a new super altered, really pathetic looking car and enough specialized guns and ammo to take out a large drug cartel, but
She don't want no money for her troubles and goods.
all she wants in payment is Duke's So then he fucks her like the robot that he is and leaves her to die by the hands of the same people who killed his clockmaker friend. Fuck you, Golgo 13. And we can't talk about Golgo 13 the Professional without mentioning the amazeballs CGI effects used in the finale. At the time, they were considered breathtaking, but they have not aged well at all. They were the first time that CGI was used in an animated feature. Well, I mean, so says Wikipedia, and I am too lazy to look it up to see if it's true or not. And they went all out with them here. From the military helicopters to the billionaire's 60-story tall skyscraper, they are as shiny and gaudy as 80s computer graphics ever were. And they so totally take you out of the story whenever they're on screen. The rendering quality of any scene with this primitive CGI is so incredibly low too. The visuals look like something taken from the Super Nintendo game Star Fox. They were so preoccupied about if they could use these newfangled effects, they never stopped to consider if they should use them.
Final thoughts.
Back in the early to mid-90s, Golgo 13 was a lot of early American anime fans' first or second experience with the medium, but I'm willing to bet that many of those early fans who have fond memories of it haven't seen it in decades. I highly advise them to watch it again just to see how far we've come since. Golgo 13, the Professional, while
Manly as fuck.
is indeed forgotten garbage. If you want to laugh, go ahead and check it out. And if you do, please make sure that you watch the 1992 streamlined dubbed version. It's exceptionally glorious in both its emotionless deliveries by most of the cast and a few voice actors who instead go for full-on melodrama with their roles. When people talk about how bad early 90s dubs were, they were talking about stuff like Golgo 13. Did I like anything about this movie? Yeah, I love the awesome and swanky 70s porn jazz and the sex scenes.
Yeah.